Because more often than not, what people construe as being intelligent or being informed is just cherry picking information to support and validate whatever their pre-existing emotional bias is. Because more often than not, that's all it is. It's just a degree of emotionality. People are making decisions emotionally and then trying to use logic to justify that decision. And it's hilarious how it's only bias and it's subjective when it's something you don't agree with. And someone else's opinion is invalid because it's their opinion, unless it's your opinion, which of course then it's true and valid. And it's funny how everything is subjective and relative and based in someone else's lens or based in their trauma experience, so long as it's not referring to the person saying that. Because it's like, if it's the view that I already have and that I already agree with, and it's against the thing that I'm already against, then obviously it's free of bias and free of subjectivity. And people are like, oh, that's crazy. But it's like, I bet if people looked at their lives, the vast majority of people in their life look like them and think like them. And the vast majority of the media that they consume is already from people that hold the same views and opinions as they do and are against the same things that they're against. And it's just hilarious to me, the selective bias and the selective degree of saying, oh, well, that's judgmental and mean because it's not what I already agree with. And I can give you some great examples. If I'm hanging out with people that are Christians and I'm criticizing a number of different things, then they're going to be all on board. I can be judgmental, I can be critical, I can be harsh, I can be all the things, and people are going to be like, yeah, exactly, that's so true, right on. But then if I take that exact same mechanism and I apply it to them or Christianity, all of a sudden I'm mean, I'm judgmental, I'm critical, it's my opinion, it's my bias, it's not true, how could I say that? All these kind of weak, pathetic defense mechanisms that don't actually address any of the validity of the actual statements that were said. On the flip side, same exact thing with atheists. I could say, you know, oh, Christians are so dumb and they do all these things and they believe all these things and their history is so bad and they've ruined the planet and ruined culture and science is really the only true way and blah, 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 blah. People are like, oh yeah, for sure, like totally on board. But then if I apply the same mechanism to atheism and point out, well, hey, isn't it odd that your whole identity is based on you're against this thing? And this thing is so invalid, so ridiculous, so absurd that your identity is completely and utterly based on that thing not being true, and your whole life is about what you don't believe and what you're not doing, because that thing is so invalid that your identity is based around not doing it. Or any other thing of talking about scientism and bias and people saying things that they think are scientific but have no evidence to support them, no studies, no research, no nothing. But I point that out. I'm mean, I'm judgmental, I'm judgmental, I'm critical, I'm harsh, I'm an asshole, I'm biased, it's just my opinion, it's just subjective, it's some trauma-based thing, and it's invalid because of all these different things. Well, it's like, well, no. It's just because this mechanism, which you only want to direct over here, because it supports and validates you and makes you feel like the cool kid, you don't want to apply it to your own thing, which is kind of the definition of being a hypocrite in many ways. Same thing with Republican versus Democrat. If I'm in either of those arenas, I can say one side of things, people will be like, absolutely, this guy gets it. But if I apply the same logic, the same train of thought to what they're doing, all of a sudden, again, you're wrong, you're mean, you're judgmental, you're biased, it's subjective. And I have friends that, COVID, for example, they believe everything that has been on the news 100% over the last 3 years, which, as we've seen, a lot of it has actually not been true. So I can go into that arena and I'd say anything that's slightly different than what was been on the news, and people are like, oh my God, you have a bias, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, you're an asshole, you're mean, you're judgmental, you hate people, you want people to die, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, no, I'm just have a slightly different view than the exact one that's put out. But then if I go to people that are super on the other extreme, anti-COVID and crazy, all these conspiracy theories and the government's doing this and all these different things, which may or may not have some validity, but if I point out, oh, these things actually have nothing behind it, these things are just ridiculous or completely emotionally driven or are not true, same thing, oh, you're a shill, you're ignorant, you're an idiot, you're naive, you're stupid, you're whatever, a globetard, like all these different things people will say. People do not see this. They don't see this mechanism, and they tell themselves, no, I'm intelligent, I'm informed, I'm a modern person, I'm not emotional, I'm not a rational being, I don't make decisions emotionally, I'm not a slave to my conditioning, I'm a free-willed modern individual, and I have the internet, and I have all this information. It's like, yeah, you have all this information at your fingertips, and you choose to just only focus on one small subset of things that just coincidentally happen to validate and confirm what you already think, feel, and believe.